clients reach their fitness goals, and I am currently training to be in an MPC bikini competition. MPC focuses a lot on shoulder definition, glute definition, and your hamstring tie-ins to your glutes. So today we will be training hamstrings and glutes. We will begin with a glute activation warm-up, including the bands on the thighs to help really activate the glutes, get a good squeeze and blood flowing to the muscle, and then we will move on to our workout. Starting with 20 reps of banded squats, the band really helps activate the glutes and gets the muscles good and warm. Next, we'll move into lateral duck walks with the band. This also helps to get blood pumping to the glute muscles, really helping in activation. The idea is to stay low, keeping tension on the band and knees back away from the toes. Next, we have banded hip abduction. These really help me target the glutes. And since glute activation is very important, especially since I am quad dominant, we finish out the warm-up with leg swings or banded kickbacks. Now that I'm done with the warm-up, already a little sweaty, but we're gonna move into the workout. And since I'm leaving the bulking stage and I'm entering the cutting stage of my training cycle, we will focus more on volume, more reps, not as heavy weight, but I will begin with heavier weights for my stiff leg deadlifts. Now I'll alternate between stiff leg deadlifts and weighted hip thrust depending on the weeks. This week we're gonna focus on the hamstrings more, so we're going to start with just the bar of deadlifts to get warmed up and loose, and then we will move on to heavier weight and lower reps than the warm-up set. We begin the workout with a warm-up set of 16 reps, just the bare bar, making sure we bend down far enough but not touching the floor to get a nice tight pull in our hamstrings. Stopping just above the floor keeps the hamstrings under tension, really stretching out that muscle. Done with the warm-up. I've loaded up the bars with 35-pound plates. There it is. So we'll move into our working sets. I'm going to do 3 to 4 sets depending on how I feel, of 12 reps. We're really trying to tire out the muscle and help burn fat, reserving some muscle. That's why it's a heavier weight. It's not a PR, but it is heavier to help tear down the muscle, keep it decently big, but also burn fat from around it since we're cutting. Moving into my working sets, I'm really focusing on keeping my chest up, shoulders back, and trying to keep the bar as close to my body as possible, making sure my form is correct for all 12 reps in 3 sets. It's important to drive through the heels, really activating the hamstrings and glutes on the come up. now that we're done with our stiff leg deadlifts, we're going to move into a superset of good mornings and Bulgarian split squats. Now, good mornings are meant to be done at high reps. So I set my reps to about 18 to 20. I want my last 2 reps to be kind of awful. I have a little bit of weight on the bar, not too much, just enough so that I'm sure I'll feel the burning. And the Bulgarian split squats are done 12 reps on each leg. Both of these are done 3 to 4 sets, depending on how I feel as well. On these, it's important to keep your chest up and shoulders back, preventing the chest from rounding forwards, really driving through that front heel and squeezing at the top for glute activation. On these, the bar is placed in high bar position on the back with light weight. That way the spine doesn't curve as you shift your hips back and lean forwards, really stretching out the hamstrings, forcing them to activate and drive the weight back up. Now that I'm done with my first superset, I'm going to move on to my second superset, which is kickbacks on the glute kickback machine and hamstring curls. And those are both going to be done for 12 each leg on the kickback and 12 just straight through on the hamstring curls. Now these are both done 3 to 4 sets, depending on how I feel. To get the most out of this move, it's important to drive through your heels, forcing the glutes to activate and really holding for a squeeze at the top. Finishing with the hamstring curls, curl the weight up, squeeze for a moment at the top, and lower it slowly back down. Really helps tire out them hamstrings. Since I'm done with the majority of my workout, it's coming to an end. We're sticking with high volume. I am going to burn out on the hip abduction machine, leaning forwards. Leaning forwards is going to help me activate mostly my glutes instead of my thighs, making sure I got a good burn in my glutes to really tire them out and finish the strength training part of my workout. And to finish out my workout, I like to do a set of hip abductions, leaning forwards. This helps to take a lot of the pressure off of the thighs, focusing a lot of the movement onto the glutes, really squeezing outside and bringing it back in. I shoot for 20 reps of this or to failure. And then to just tire out my glutes the rest of the way, I finish with pulsing hip abductions. And I do this to failure. Finally done with the strength portion of my workout. Now I'm going to move on to LISS cardio, low intensity, steady state cardio. My gym doesn't have a Stairmaster, so I'm going to do an incline walk at about 3 or 3.3 miles per hour just to get my heart rate up. I am focusing on keeping my heart rate at about 65 to 70% of the max, which is around, I shoot for 137 beats per minute, but we're keeping it up so we can burn fat and preserve muscle so we can get cut for competition. Now that I've finished 45 minutes of LISS cardio, we are done, good to go. I'm exhausted and sweaty. This is my final.